we have a different Audit Tuesday topic. So today we're going to talk about business continuity, disaster recovery, and IGA. So for this very important topic, we have BCDR expert David Gillies. Hi, David.
Hey, Ashley, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. So first, David, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, Ashley, I've been in IT and solution selling for about 22, 23 years, starting with WorldCom and then going up for the gamut of network, disaster recovery, business continuity, and most recently, those are the areas I focused on the last 10 or 15 years. I'm a technology advisor helping people make decisions around those solution sets.
So first, can you explain to the audience what is business continuity and disaster recovery?
Well, business continuity, it's interesting. A lot of small to medium businesses think that the IT think their main responsibility is a disaster recovery. Make sure the data and the technology are available for the company to use and get up and running after a disaster, whether it's man-made or natural. But the reality is business continuity also falls on IT in a smaller company, which means business continuity is the availability of the people to use the infrastructure that you make available.
And what are the threats to the enterprise that require enterprises to have a DRBC plan?
They fall into two categories as far as I'm concerned. So they fall into man-made, which is hackers, ransomware, things of that nature, and then natural. So I come from Houston. We're talking floods and hurricanes for sure there.
And where are most enterprises on their BCDR plans, especially SMB commercial enterprises?
Well, like I said earlier, a lot of the small to medium enterprises really don't think much about the business continuity piece of the people and getting them in a position to use technology. As far as the disaster recovery goes, one thing that I see that a lot of misconceptions are around is that if you have a backup, you've got a disaster recovery plan. You just dump it to another server. But the problem is a lot of times change management isn't really closely monitored. And people don't realize you've got to have a target server that closely matches your source server. And that could be, you can start your backups 5 years ago and have your first disaster and a lot changes. It's very difficult to recover from those backups in many, many cases.
What would you say the gaps for disaster recovery and business continuity are?
Well, the gaps, I think just what I mentioned there is change management for disaster recovery. People just don't look at the change management and they think they can dump the data down to another target server at will. As far as business continuity, you've got to make sure the people are available to use the technology. It's that simple.
And David, shouldn't identity be a part of these BRDC plans?
Absolutely. If you look at Gartner, they're talking about identity being the new perimeter, right? So we're seeing technologies to get rid of old technologies for connectivity like VPN that are vulnerable, that are kind of the access to the edge, et cetera. And we all know firewalls don't work anymore. So that is the old edge. The new edge is identity.
And how does IGA play into this?
It's really the guys that overlook all the guys that are running the information identity and access management solutions. They're making sure who has the right access to the right information and where.
And Gary, isn't this where UATest would come in?
Absolutely. As David says, the disaster recovery business continuity is about being always ready to respond and having a plan in place. Okay, what's the most important thing in any project? The people. If you don't have the right people assigned to the right resources, when you're scrambling during the time of the recovery, that's not good. That's not good. You're going to say, oh, well, didn't Bob have access to this server? Well, no, he doesn't. Okay, didn't Jane have access to this database? No, he doesn't. And you're scrambling. That's why constant continuing monitoring and attestation of the rights in the enterprise is paramount, not only to daily existence, but when you are doing a business continuity or executing a disaster recovery. That's why IGA is imperative. And that's exactly where UATest comes in. We allow automation of the process of attestation of rights across all resources.
Perfect. And David, can you tell people how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, and just to real quick to add to what Garrett said there, I tell my smaller, SMB customers that it's really difficult for you to do this on your own. If you don't automate parts of this, it's going to be nearly impossible. So I think the identity access management piece, being the new perimeter, is probably the piece you want to focus most on automating. And thank you. I'm with Enterprise Visions. You can email me. You can find me on LinkedIn very easily. But my email address is my first initial last name, D Gillies, Gillies, at ENT Visions, ENT short for Enterprise, visions.com. So I'd love to talk with you more, or anybody else that has questions about our conversation today.
Perfect. And then UATest can be reached at info@uatest.com, and will help enterprises ensure their identity entitlements are up to date to meet BCDR best practices. Thank you so much, David, for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Fantastic. Thank you as well.
Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you.
Bye now.